everybody, and thank you for joining me today. So I have moved my whole frame over. I'm still working on the peahen's wings. Yeah, I got I think 3 more columns to do, and then I will be working on her abdomen. So yeah, I think that having the peahen completed, or at least what is in this pass, is likely for this month. It seems doable. Because, yeah, we're about halfway through the month, so, yeah, it's coming along well. All right. Yeah, so here in Canada, we're looking at another potential post office strike. Yeah, they had one back the end of 2024. Just over a month, I think it was mid-November to mid-December. Yeah. And then they were sent back to work and sort of temporarily while they continued negotiating, and their contract expires, late in the later part of May. And if they can't reach an agreement, then yeah, they will probably be striking again. So yeah, we will see what happens. Yeah, they were accused of canceling Christmas because yeah, they usually take letters to Santa, but that year obviously they weren't. And yeah, a lot of people had to scramble to find different carriers to get their shipments delivered, and yeah, it was not great. Yeah, and like I said, if you're a bigger business, they can sort of weather doing that, switching to couriers. But for a lot of people who have, small home-based businesses, yeah, it was a real blow for them to not have access to letter mail anymore. Because, yeah, once you start paying parcel rates for couriers, the prices go way, way up. So, yeah, and it really sucked for some people who, we're getting payments through the mail via checks rather than electronically, because they stopped issuing passports because there was no way to get them to people, because they usually send them registered mail, and yeah, again, to get them couriered would have been very expensive and more labor intensive for them too, right? So yeah, they didn't do that. So yeah, it was a big disruption for a lot of people, which, I mean, I understand that is the point of a strike, but yeah, it kind of sucked for some people who planned ahead to make sure they would have their passports in time for travel, and then, yeah, sorry, too bad. Yeah. Because, yeah, they say to plan for at least 6 to 8 weeks to get your documents back. So they generally recommend that you don't make your travel reservations and stuff until you have them, unless it's far enough ahead, like you're planning for a holiday from a year from now, then that's fine. But yeah, if you're planning on a tight turnaround, yeah, you could end up being disappointed. Yeah, we got our passports all renewed a couple of months ago. We're not planning on traveling, but yeah, I like to keep it up to date because you never know, right? It's always good to just have that. Yeah, kiddos applied for an adult passport because, yeah, when we were renewing them, he was 3 weeks away from his 18th birthday. So they said, yeah, at that point, just because kid passports had to be renewed every 5 years. And then adult ones are good for 10 years. Yeah. And, yeah, I remember actually I had to renew it in 2020. Yeah. And it was like March of 2020. So, yeah, you can imagine. Yeah, we weren't planning to go anywhere, but I don't like to let it expire because then you got to start the whole process from scratch, right? Renewing an existing one is much easier than applying for a new one in the first place. So, yeah, they did say that, at least here in Canada, you can renew even an expired passport within, I think it's 2 years of a previous one. Yeah. So you wouldn't be able to use it for travel, but you can still renew it rather than having to start the whole application again. But yeah, like I said, I like to keep it current because you just never know. I've never used mine, but maybe one day. Yeah. I'm a real homebody, so honestly, if I never really travel anywhere, I won't be devastated. Yeah. I was more into it when I was younger. When, of course, I didn't have any money to do it, right? And then, yeah, now that I'm older, I'm like, nah, I want to sit in my comfy chair, do my stitching, you know? Yeah, have a cup of tea, listen to a good audiobook and stitch. Yeah, we are often staycationers. Yeah, my husband will, take a week off work, and I was like, where are you going? He's like, nowhere, I'm just going to my garage. Because, yeah, he has an old Unimog that he is restoring, so, yeah. Yeah, he said he already knew how to weld, but he had to learn how to do it more precisely now with this to make sure the body fits together properly and everything, yeah. And he's repainted it, so it's army green now, because it was like the school bus orange when he bought it. Yeah. So. Okay. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Pardon me. Yeah, it's wild talking about passports, because I remember when I was a kid, kids didn't need passports if they were traveling with their parents, with their adults. Then yeah, that changed. Oh, thinking. Yeah, like the early 2000s that changed. But it used to be for Canadians, we didn't even need a passport to go across the border to the US, but we do now. Because, yeah, when I was in high school, we did a band trip. We went down to California. And, yeah, no, we didn't need it. But, yeah, that was pre 9/11. So, things changed. Yeah. Okay, yeah, still quite a lot of navy here on this piece, as you can see. Still over 9,000 stitches left of it. But yeah, that's not surprising. It's a pretty big color on the peacock, although not as much now. I think it's more, let's take a look here. Yeah, I think it's more on the shadowy parts, the leaves and stuff. Yeah, because the green-blue parts of the peacock are pretty much done. It's just the bottom tail feathers. Yeah. Yeah, so Heaven and Earth Designs recently came out with a new piece with peacocks on it, and it had I think the Japanese lanterns and stuff, and it was like 3 or 4 peacocks in the picture. Is beautiful. And if people say, oh, is this your next one? It's like, oh, it's lovely, but yeah. One peacock piece I think is enough for me. I have so many others I want to do. sure I parked that correctly because I almost didn't. There we go. Should be right there. Yeah, oops. I was trying to move it and I had it in the wrong mode. Okay. So today I am starting at 0. So what number I have at the end will be how many I did on camera. Yeah, as you can see, there's not many colors here in this, the rest of this wing section. So yeah, it should probably go pretty quickly, I would think. Yeah, so I'm hoping we don't have a postal strike. Most of my bills are like automatically paid, or I can, yeah, or I get an email or whatever, but yeah, it's kind of a pain. I don't use it for much, but there is enough that, yeah. Well, I take it for granted, because the thing is, I do order a lot of things off eBay and stuff, and yeah, most of the time they are delivered by Canada Post. Yeah, they said, like, for people, especially who live out in, you know, rural areas, they really rely on it because, yeah, like, even orders from Amazon in the end are ultimately delivered by Canada Post a lot of times. Otherwise, it'd be much more expensive to send, like, you know, a FedEx or a UPS truck out there, right? So, yeah. Yeah, it was kind of funny too, saying like checks being delivered via the mail rather than a direct deposit. And yeah, it was funny because for years we signed up for direct deposit to get our tax refund, and they would direct deposit for mine, and they would send my husband a check, even though like we filed jointly. It's the same account. It took them about 6 years before they finally started doing direct deposit and stopped sending the checks. Yeah. You know, and every year we tried to sign up for it, and yeah, every year for some reason they went to the trouble of printing out and mailing a check. And then they finally got their marbles together, so. Good old bureaucracy, right? Yeah, so we've had some lovely sunny weather. Not too hot, apart from that couple of days when it was. But, yeah, we are looking at rain for the next 4 days or so, they're saying. So we'll see. But I won't complain. We do need it. Yeah, our forests are pretty dry, and we do not need any wildfires. So rain is good. Yeah, it was kind of frustrating. I remember once we went camping with my husband's parents, and there was a fire ban on. And I mean, the best part of camping is the campfire, right? And couldn't have that. And it rained the whole darn time too. Yeah. But I mean, I guess it takes more than a couple of days of rain before they lift the fire ban. And yeah, it was really frustrating. My mother-in-law was saying, like, every single time the sun came out, she'd try to hang out a few things to dry, and then like 10 minutes later the rain would start again. And my husband's brother and his family, they came too. So we were staying at a hotel across the way. They were actually camping. And unfortunately, where they put their tent ended up being a low spot, and all the water kind of drained, and their tent basically filled up with water. And it was like, yeah, they woke up the next morning all soggy, and yeah, my brother-in-law's just like, yeah, we're done. Because they were camping with 4 young kids, I think. Oh, I think they were all 10 and younger. Yeah. So, and one of them was like less than a year old. So, yeah, I'm like, wow, you're camping with kids that young. You're braver than me. Yeah, camping's not my thing. I kind of liked it when I was a kid, but then same thing. We camped for this thing, and it rained the whole time. And yeah, I kind of lost my taste for it then. And my parents wouldn't bring supplies for us to have a campfire. There was no ban on then, but yeah, so it was kind of, yeah, what's the point, right? Yeah, you want to have your s'mores and cook your hot dogs, right? That's, at least to me, seems like the best part of the camping experience. And just sitting around the fire. It's kind of mesmerizing to watch, right? Yeah. Yeah, so we've got this bunch of navy, and there's a little bit of red there, and another bunch of navy, and then we get into the lighter colors of the peahen's chest and belly. I think, yeah, that's an end there. Goodness, those sirens are coming close. Hopefully everybody will be okay. So yeah, I think I should put up a pretty impressive number today because, like I said, there's not very many colors, as you can see. There's like about 4 colors, and there's a lot of big blocks here, so. Yeah, sometimes I will take a break here and stitch with another color because just to keep my arms from hurting, I have to be careful about that. So, take a look here. Yeah, so I was planning on separate threads for that one. Oh, my goodness me. So yeah, I find the breaks of sort of stopping to pull a piece of thread and to thread my needle and stuff, yeah, just gives my arms a little break. Yeah, the wind is picking up again. Yeah, and then after the peahen's chest here, there's the big pink flowers. There's quite a lot of big blocks there, so again, that part should go fairly quickly. Then I'll get into more detailed as we get back into the peacock's tail there. Yeah, there's a lot of sort of very wispy, the feathers kind of split up into sort of wispy little bits, so that makes it more confetti heavy. So yeah, I don't always stitch diagonally anymore, but the colors are definitely going that way this time. Yeah, I said I kind of stopped when I was at the peacock's tail because he was standing the other way, but the peahen is standing this way, which kind of, yeah, results in a natural diagonal slant the way that I used to slant my diagonals, because some people go the other way too. I always went this way, just because that was what was natural for me. But yeah, because there's always people who will ask, like, should I start in the top left? It's like, no, you can start wherever you want. I've seen people start at all different corners. Some people like to start in the middle. Yeah, because I remember when I got my first kit, they told you to start in the middle so that you could make sure your stitching was centered on the fabric. But I grid mine, so yeah, I can already tell from the grid that it'll be in the right place. But yeah, sometimes on those kits they didn't give you much extra space on the edges, so yeah, you definitely had to make sure you had it properly centered, or you could be in trouble running out of room or having to crop the picture. Yeah. Yeah, perfect. I kind of figured this was going to run out sort of right about there, so that will be fine. Yeah, so the other thread I'm going to work from the left side out rather than from the right side in. This piece I'm now going to use for these scattered stitches that are there. So I got some blue sky coming out again, so that's nice. Yeah, I haven't done my walk yet, so probably do that after I wrap this up. Yeah, almost at 100 already. So, like I said, because there's not very many colors here, it does go by quite quickly. Okay, switch again. Yeah, so now, like I said, I'm going to take this one from the left side out and back. Some people like to cross as they go and kind of snake back and forth, and yeah, that works too. It's totally just your personal preference. Yeah, so still watching Red Dwarf with Kiddo. And we're now at what they ended up calling season 9, which was like almost like a TV movie. They split into 3 parts back to reality. Well, it doesn't have a laugh track. That was kind of jarring after finishing the series, which does. Yeah. Yeah, I think seasons 1 to 6 were the best. Because season 7, Chris Berry, who plays Rimmer, had some other projects he was working on, so they greatly reduced his part. He was written out for a few episodes. And yeah, I think without the chemistry of him with the other characters, it just was not as good. Yeah. I think he was the most talented actor on that show, in my opinion. Because especially the episode where he and Lister swap bodies. Yeah, he totally got all his mannerisms and the way he walks and all of that perfect, that you almost forget that, oh, wait a minute, no, that's not actually him. You know, Lister, that's the guy pretending that he's Lister, and he's so good at it that, yeah. It's very convincing. I always feel like those are the real test of actors, when they have to pretend to be like another character and they can nail it, yeah. Yeah, we just skipped right over season 8. It was terrible. Yeah. Because one of the main creators of the show left to do other projects, and the guy who was left behind tried to carry it on, but yeah. Missing the, there's a chemistry between them that just could not be replicated on his own, in my opinion. Yeah. I heard people say that it was bad, and I thought, well, how bad could it be? But yeah, you never think that, because yeah, it was very bad. So yeah, we have seen it once, but we've never really felt the, well, for that episode, the nanites had brought back all of the crew, and I mean, the whole premise of the show was that it's the last human being alive, right, with a couple of other characters stuck together by themselves, trekking across space, right? And yeah, you can't recapture that. It doesn't work when you're not that way with, yeah, just a few characters stuck together, even when they get on each other's nerves. Yeah, but now Kiddo gets our quotes. So we quote that show a lot, yeah. This is acting Captain, Commander Arnold J. Rimmer of the, now listen up, because this is only coming once. We surrender completely, totally, and without condition. Thank you for listening. Additional, sorry to take up your valuable time. Sorry, thank you, sorry. Yeah. I recommend we go to Red Alert. Are you absolutely sure you want to do that, sir? It does mean changing the bulb. Yeah, PBS used to do marathons in the 90s, and that's when we discovered them. Yeah, and then I introduced my husband to it when we first started dating. I borrowed my parents' VHS tapes that we had recorded off the PBS, marathons, and we watched those. So I got my husband hooked. Yeah, we have them on DVD now, and I have to say that's one thing that BBC television does really well, generally, is they include a lot of really good behind-the-scenes stuff. Yeah, like often they will have more behind-the-scenes content than the actual show. Yeah, interviews and bloopers and how they did special effects, and yeah. Yeah, there was one they showed. We had a tape, it was called the Smeg Ups, and there was one where they said, yeah, the guy couldn't remember his line. They said, so we used the very sophisticated pin the line to the other actor's head technique, right? And they showed one where, yeah, it took him forever to try and get it. So in the end, he was literally reading off a piece of paper that was outside of the shot. And after all that, exchange didn't end up in the final cut. I said, how frustrating that would be, right? Spending all day trying to get these lines down. And yeah, they end up not using it. Yeah, because it's one where they got erased from time, and Lister says, we don't exist here anymore. And then Crichton says, actually, sir, we don't ever have existed here anymore, but this is hardly the time to be conjugating in the past and present never tense. And then, yeah, it ended up not being in the final cut, which I'm surprised they cut it because it was pretty funny. You will not offer any grilled bread products to any member of the crew at any time. May I ask a question? Yes. Would anyone like some toast? Did you not hear what I just said? Yes, but I thought you might have changed your mind in the meantime. Yeah, it was funny because I introduced it to one of my good friends in high school, and yeah, we were in science class together. So ever after that, after the science teacher would give a, detailed explanation about something that was kind of complicated, we'd look at each other and both in a cat voice say, "So what is it?" I think I can get a few more stitches out of this. So. All right, I did all that so that I can do all of those in one go. Those strands are wrapped around each other in a funny way. There we go. Nope, I thought I had removed that little trimmed bit, but I guess not. Yeah, So I might sort of finish the wing and then move the whole thing over again to work on her abdomen. We'll see. Because then if I move it over, I can sort of get her whole abdomen done in one go, instead of sort of having to split it across the middle, move the frame during. So yeah, even though I could stitch further over, sometimes I'll move the frame earlier if sort of the path of the colors kind of warrants it. I think I might have, yeah, just a little bit off there. I find on these darker colors, especially on the 14 count, yeah, I kind of can't just leave it. It's more noticeable. The darker colors kind of leave a gap of white that is, yeah, more apparent, so. I'm going to be careful to, yeah, draw these threads back because the very pale color is coming up. If I pin stitch the dark colors there, yeah, they could potentially show through, which I do not want. Yeah, I mean, there's still dark colors for the next sort of 6 stitches, but just to be safe. Okay, won't get much more out of this one. Yeah, it's going to run out soon. Oh yeah, closing in on 200 done. Like I said, as I knew this is a area with very few colors, so yeah, it zips by. Okay. Yeah, my goodness, you wouldn't expect a sky to be so blue with it being so windy out there. Kind of doesn't seem to fit. Yeah, so this is a big area of this color. Probably end up with more than one thread with some red scattered through it. So I generally end up using sort of, when it branches off, as I say, using separate threads for each branch rather than jumping around with the one. I'm gonna blow right past 200 pretty darn soon. So reaching 71% should be no problem. I might even reach 72 during May, which would be pretty cool. Because, yeah, I'm hoping to reach 75% by the end of June. So I'm not making it a goal because, yeah, like I said before, those stress me out, but that's just an estimate. And if I get it, great. And if I don't, no problem. Yeah, this is really only long enough for one stitch. That's okay. All right. I might get more than one stitch out of this one. So yeah, this dark blue I may split up for a little bit, and then I'll come down from the top and fill it all in. Just kind of see what I can squeak out with this thread, and that'll sort of be where I make my cutoff. Yeah, so I think I'll finish what was in this square. Yeah, actually that works out just right. So yeah, sometimes when a strand ends up sort of in the middle of a big section of color, I will kind of stitch it both ways. So stitch it one and then stitch it the other. And sometimes when I have two threads on sort of either side, then they kind of stitch towards each other and meet in the middle. Sort of stitch the rest of this row. Just going to continue with that until I run out of thread. I think I could probably get the row below this one done with this strand. Do the same thing again. So the back will not look perfectly consistent, but I'm not really concerned about that. Yeah, I've seen some where people can manage to make their back look like a mirror image of the front, but I am not that talented. Yeah, that works out perfectly, because then I will take over the next row with that strand that's parked down there. Works out just right. Oh yeah. So yeah, I think after this row, I'm gonna take a break. I know people will say my needle was on fire, but I want to make sure that my arms aren't. So yeah, I have made that mistake before. I powered through a ton of stitches, but then I couldn't stitch for a couple days afterwards because, yeah, my arms were killing me. It was not a good time. So yeah, as much as I'd love to just keep motoring along, gotta make sure I take those breaks. All right, 276, yeah. I don't know if that's the biggest number I've put up in a session before, but it's definitely up there. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you here next time. Thanks, everyone. Bye.